everyone? It's Modified Wolf coming at you from Patreon and YouTube. Today on the Content Creator Spotlight, we have QuazArxx today. Woo! How are you doing?
Woo! Doing all right. How about you?
Uh, I'm good.
Questionable.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. So who is Quaz? Can you give me a little bit of a gist of like how you your persona QuazArxx or your name QuazArxx?
QuazArxx derived from my love of space, honestly. I absolutely love space. It's been a big passion of mine. I actually wanted to be potentially an astrophysicist one day. So QuazArxx is the quasar in the sky, as well as the ever cool double X at the end of the name. So I said instead of being Quasar XX, it's QuazArxx.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love
Thank you.
your icon definitely is space themed, and I love how you have Jupiter there and a comet. It,
Yes.
I hope it's a comet. I'm sorry if it's not.
It's a comment. Yeah, everything's got to be space themed. All the sub badges and everything I can make space themed.
Yeah, I mean space is beautiful, and unfortunately I did miss the last rocket launch from SpaceX and NASA. I kind of want to go back and watch it because the spacesuits look really cool.
Oh, they had a big upgrade for those. My parents actually recorded it because they knew I was going to want to see it. So they actually played it for me again so that way I could see it. And it's just the rocket itself, the suits, just the whole technology in those spaceships now are just amazing.
It's crazy what Elon Musk can do. That's definitely for sure. He's the man in charge. Um,
Definitely.
so what did you do before streaming?
So before streaming, I sat around after work and just played video games and just did nothing really. I worked, I came home, I went to school whenever I needed to, and I just sat around bored wondering what could I do with myself right now.
All right. My next question is school. High school, college. Uh, what did you do in college?
So for college, I switched around a couple times to do something in the field of IT, switching over to be, like I said, astrophysicist. And I realized that, you know what, even though I switched so many different majors and tried to figure out what I really wanted from college, college was just not for me, no matter how many times I went back for it. And a lot of people really were like adamant about making me go to college and saying, you need to go, you're never going to progress anywhere in life. It just, college is just not for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, college is definitely not for everyone. I mean, during college, some semesters you don't particularly have a lot of time to do stuff outside of college. It can get grindy, it can get repetitive, it can just tire you out and, you know, wreak havoc on your mental health, and that's something I completely understand as well. It's I'm planning to go next fall, and I'm kind of scared. I'm really scared to try college.
It's a scary thing to jump into when you're very unfamiliar with the territory, but the atmosphere you get can vary from person to person.
So, what was your did you pick a major when you went to college? Like right off the bat, hey, I'm going for this.
I wanted to pick a major. I actually stuck with liberal arts throughout my entire time at college because I was constantly saying maybe I'll go for this instead. Maybe I'll go for this instead. I actually started with the idea of technology because of one of my 12th grade teachers in high school had told me, wow, you're really good with computers. You're really good with working with computers because I constantly helped out in that computer class to fix people's problems. Anytime something was wrong, I was the one that would go over and fix it for them. And he told me, you know, you're good with technology. You should start off with that. So I attempted to. And then that didn't work out right away, unfortunately.
I have a question. I do have a question for you about liberal arts. What exactly goes into liberal arts? I have no clue. I've never been educated on this like whatsoever. So you can school me a little bit.
School you, nice joke on that one. Uh,
Haha.
so with liberal arts, it's basically you get the gist of everything. You get the English classes, you get the history classes, you get the math classes, science. It basically dives you into different areas of all subjects to kind of, I guess, get a general degree in everything. Because even a simple associate's degree, even in liberal arts, still gets you ahead in life. Um, you get more pay and stuff like that. And you can find better jobs. Um, but yeah, liberal arts to me is more like you're diving into different subjects to really test the waters and
Right.
maybe see which direction you really want to go into.
Right. That's I mean, I would like to do that, but I wanted to go for pathology, but just the rotations for being a doctor is very, very hard, and my body can't take that. Like, I would have to go through pre med, I would have to go through med, I would have to go through a residency, I would have to take boards, I would have to take so many things, and I feel like I'm too old for that. But I finally picked a major. I feel like I'm gonna go for general laboratory technician instead of histology because histology was something I wanted to take, but um, histology is very repetitive. You just sit there, make slides of organs day in and day out. But with laboratory technician, you get to play with chemicals. You get to uh, like help diagnose someone. Like, what if they had, a disease or something? Then you get to help, the doctor or the pathologist find out if they have cancer or what's going on with them. Um, so, what technology did you want to go for? Did you want to go for computer engineering? Did you want to go for programming? Which side of the road were you on?
Originally, it was nothing specific. It was more just IT, and that was the biggest issue jumping into IT is there's so many different fields, so many different directions you can go with just IT itself that I went in saying I'll take a couple IT classes at least. Maybe I'll figure out the direction I really want to go into. And it didn't occur to me until maybe a year ago that I started, like, I took a class last year in spring, and I realized, you know what, let's do some coding. Coding is a lot of fun. It's a lot like puzzle solving. Something goes wrong and you can't figure out what it is, so you got to go in, you got to test everything, you got to figure it out. So, going from just basic IT to maybe coding is so far the direction I've headed towards, but not 100% still.
Not 100%. So if you like coding, like I know you code Discord bots, but if you like coding that much, would you see yourself going back for an associate's degree or going through another boot camp or um, getting your bachelor's degree in a field that you really, really love? Would you do it at this point?
100%. Honestly, little inside thing. I actually haven't told anybody this yet, so nice exclusive here. I actually applied for getting into, I think it was University of London, I believe
What?
was the school. Not 100% sure. Yeah. Um, they have a degree program for a bachelor's degree in computer. I think it's computer science, and you would learn to code. You would learn how to use the ins and outs of the computer, um, game design, stuff like that. And I applied for it. I haven't heard back yet because there's a way you can do it where it's like not if you have a degree, you don't just transfer over saying you have a degree. It's kind of like fresh out of high school. You can say
Yeah.
what you've done, why you deserve to be to apply, kind of thing. And I gave it a shot. Let's see what happens with that. Because honestly, if I can get into a degree program like that and I could take courses and get a bachelor's degree, I would definitely be doing more coding.
Oh my god. This is brand new news to me. You never told me this. So guys, you're hearing this like right here first. Like holy crap. Hey, I hope
My
you get
parents don't
in.
even know.
What? You
I haven't
told
told any. Literally, this is the first time I've ever told anybody, and I just did this like a week ago.
bruh, you wait a minute. Okay.
Dropping
So,
bombs here.
yeah. I'm hearing like you're telling me and the podcast first, not your own parents. This is some special shit that's going on right now. I
To
hope you
be
get
fair,
in.
I have made these attempts of some things in the past before, and the first thing I do, because I can't hold back, I'm just like, I should really want to tell people what I'm doing. And then I tell somebody, and then ends up falling through anyway. So I thought maybe if I just hold on to it long enough, maybe if I don't tell anybody, maybe that's the time that I'll actually get into something. It's kind of a shot in the dark. I saw it through the website where I got my certification from, and they were offering this thing, and I was like, maybe I should just attempt it. Do I really want to do this? I mean, it's a lot of money every year. Do I really want to just go for it? I'm like, you know what? Let's just apply. Let's see what happens. If I get in, I will make a different decision at that point. But why not at least apply and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, this could mean like this could change the rest of your life. Just applying to get a bachelor's degree, like holy crap. So I know there's a lot of things that go into computer science. Like you have your working parts, you have your coding, you have, your design and stuff like that. So if you go for your bachelor's degree in computer science, would you eventually get a master's degree to specialize in something?
I might. That one I haven't really thought that far ahead yet. Um, there are times where I sit and think about, if using my certification to get a job, maybe move up in that job instead. But personally, if I could get a master degree in some sort of programming course, in some sort of like computer engineering or I don't know exactly what the master degree programs are, so I don't know exactly what would be specific for those.
Right.
But if I could get something that tailored to exactly what I would like to do from the rest of my life, I think I would.
So there's a lot of computer engineering that can go into, it can definitely tie into space as well. Since I know you very much like space. Um, so, computer engineering, you could design computers that, um, I don't know if it's technically designing, but computer engineering, you can engineer a computer to, look at space and all that cool stuff. And that might be something you're interested in the future. We'll never know. But
I mean, that would be cool. Could you imagine hearing that one of my computers or something, one of my pieces of technology that I worked on went up on a spaceship? I mean, that would just be cool just to think about, knowing, like, hey, look, I made this. It's now going up into space. Like, they're relying on me and whatever team I'm with to code and to create something for astronauts to use.
like that would be super super dope. Like I hope you if you get in or if you apply somewhere else, I really hope to see your name in some like reports and stuff like, "Hey, this was made by I'm not going to say your real name, but um this was made by my friend." Like, holy crap. This person contributed a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat and tears to get something into space, and that would I'm gonna cry. That would be really cool. Okay. Is Discord cutting out?
Nope. No, you're
Okay.
good.
Okay. That scared me because when I was doing another interview, it kept cutting out. Oh my god, it scared me.
No, sorry. I didn't know what to say. I got like, my emotions got to me for a second too. I was like,
I don't know what to say. Wolfie. Oh no.
don't cry.
um. So, what do you do now besides streaming? Like, do you work anywhere? What do you do outside of streaming right now?
Outside currently is usually just going to work, coding the bot, or bots really. And once in a while, hanging with my friends and his kids. It's not much of a outside lifestyle because I'm usually just sitting home playing video games for the most part when I'm just relaxing. But it's a busy life.
It's a very busy life. So, um, I'm just gonna say this right now to everyone who's watching. I do like to have meetings with people to see what questions they're comfortable with me asking or what questions I could ask during the interview. I have like a whole notebook full of notes right in front of me. Quaz, you said that you worked at the YMCA.
This is true.
That is true. So, um, how did you start working at the YMCA?
Well, broke man needed a job. Uh,
Like
I
always,
actually
right?
had, I mean, to hit it on the hammer on the nail for that one. Uh, it was because I needed a job. I honestly had left working at Rite Aid after high school. I was constantly going. I was going to college at that point too, so I needed a job. I needed a way to go back and forth to work. I didn't have money to pay for my gas, and I couldn't keep asking my parents for money. So my friend and his girlfriend at the time were like, "Hey, you need a job? Try the YMCA. Try working with kids. It's fun. We can get you an in. We can get you an interview. Give it a shot." And so I took the shot.
You took the shot, and how how did you feel right after you got the job? And were you scared of working with kids at all?
Oh,
Because kids can
100%.
be intimidating. They can be ruthless little humans.
When you don't know them, yes, definitely. There were times where I remember standing in playing trade and having a kid near me, and I just kind of sat there looking at him like I don't know what to say to this kid. He's trying to gesture me. He's making noises at me. I don't know what to say, so I just turned away and I'm like I don't know what to do. I was nervous, and I knew going into that job I was going to be nervous immediately, and I was. It was a scary time because it's so uncomfortable because I've never dealt with kids before, and now I'm suddenly just saying, "Sure, I'll work at a job with kids." Like, what was I thinking was going on in my head? Like, why did I choose to do this? I know I can't do this yet. I don't know what to do. So yeah, it was very nerve wracking.
Um, how did you feel after you got warmed up to working with kids at the YMCA? Exactly. Like, did you start to figure out the way they, process their thoughts and emotions, or was that something very hard for you to warm up to?
Honestly, I didn't. It didn't take me as long as I expected it to be. I'd say about a week, maybe. I started to get used to how they were speaking, what they would say to me, uh, how they acted, how they reacted, even. You get to learn the kids and see what they love to do, and just learning the inside of a child's mind that we used to have, but we no longer have because we're older now. Um, we don't realize how much thoughts actually go into our minds when we're younger, and you actually get to see that in the kids. It's actually wonderful.
Like I'm still intimidated by kids, and wow, that's that's
It's one of those when you're thrown into the position, you'll learn. It's something that kind of comes naturally, and a lot of people say that, oh, with motherhood, it's a natural thing. You'll turn into a mother immediately. You won't think twice about it. And I can honestly say they're kind of right about that because we all have these instincts to take care of the young and to just be careful around them. I mean, my language, unfortunately, around the kids sometimes slipped, and it was very hard to hold back. But I mean, I did, and I had to change my outlook and everything, and you just really get used to it, honestly.
so. Are there any? Did you get to teach kids things that they wouldn't have learned from their parents? Because I know some of the kids, stay there because their parents worked or something like that. Is there anything that you taught the kids, like something worth sharing as a lesson to them as they're younger?
As a life lesson, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of those where you could sit there and tell people and tell the kids like, listen, there's things that are going to happen later on in life, and you got to learn how to deal with it a little bit better. And there was a lot of, you could have philosophical conversations, and you can make big impacts on children when it comes to bullying or other things. And the biggest one that I had, I remember, was just teaching a little girl, a little kindergartner, how to tie her shoe. Her parents never taught her, apparently. I had no idea. She had no clue how to do this. Every time she got out in a game, instead of sitting there crying on the side because she was always the first one out, I instead sat her on the side with her and taught her how to tie her shoe. So every time she got out, she'd sit on the side, practice how to tie her shoe, and then after a couple minutes, she'd go back in the game. And that's how we got her attention away from saying, oh, it's a negative thing that I've lost. Now it's become a positive thing because now I have time to practice how to tie my shoe again.
Kids are very impressionable, and that is a very, very freaking wholesome moment, and that makes me feel so warm inside. You taught some little girl how to tie her shoe, and how did that make you feel after, she completely learned how to tie her shoes on her own?
Honestly, actually getting to see her tie her shoes, I at first I didn't really think anything of it, and then it started to hit me. And for the longest time, I really thought that I was better with older kids. I had the group. I basically ran the group that was third graders to sixth graders. They're a little bit more mature. We called them the big kids. So whenever the second graders became third graders, they were now you're in my group. Now you're going to have a little bit more responsibility. You're going to be a little bit more mature about things, and they learn that. But dealing with a kindergartner was a whole different story for me. Dealing with the younger kids was like I don't do baby talk. I don't know how to handle them exactly. So realizing that I just helped out kindergartner, the youngest of the groups, how to tie a shoe and completely changed her world because now she could tie it on her own. She didn't rely on her parents for that. I just felt so, I wouldn't say proud, but it would definitely a nice feeling knowing that I made a change in someone's life, even as a kindergartner, and she won't even understand that for the longest time.
That's amazing. That's that's awesome. So, working at the YMCA, what's your overall impression of having that experience, helping and working with, young kids and helping them have a better day? How do you feel about that now, and what are your impressions of that?
Honestly, I miss working at the YMCA because of the impact that I had on the kids and the impact that the kids had on me. I learned to uh, have more of an open mind for things. I learned also a lot about how some kids are treated among others, um, what their life could be like at home that you can't actually see. Everybody's got these hidden demons on the inside, and we can't all see these things. And a lot of the kids, especially, put on a brave face because they have to just deal with it. And some kids don't know how to, and when you see the parents come in and you could see how they act towards their kids, it kind of breaks your heart a little bit when it's a bad way that they react to their kids. But knowing that you could be there for them, at least makes me specifically at least makes me a little bit happier knowing that they do have someone they can talk to about these things, and I will do whatever I can to help them out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being I I don't want to make you feel weird, but thank you for being a hero and a savior to some of those kids. Some of those kids really, really needed that. Like, they needed someone to be there for them.
Yeah, there was a few in particular I can remember that I mean I wouldn't call myself a hero, but thank you for that. But I do feel like I did impact some of the kids in a way that was necessary. Um, because again, just knowing what they're going through, what they've been through, what they now have to go through, it's like it's a nice feeling knowing that the one who at least I know who I am and I know that I'm going to do what I can to help these kids. And knowing that I was the one that got to help them, it just makes me feel better about everything.
That's like, hold your head high for that, because thank you. just just thank you for being there for them. That's like, I know a lot of kids in my town go to the YMCA because, their parents can't necessarily afford expensive childcare. They can't really afford to have a good babysitter. You know, the YMCA is a great place. So, and they get to socialize with other kids after school. They get help with their homework. They they go on some field trips and stuff like that in the summer, and that just it makes my heart feel very warm. And the YMCA is very underrated, but I'll tell you what, you put in a lot of hours helping these kids. Like you guys put in so many hours. And thank you again. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm going to
no, of
cry.
course. No, of course. Honestly, I mean, I feel like I didn't put in many hours because it was one of those. I work 2 hours in the morning. I'd wake up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work at 7 for them, hang out until about 9 o'clock, go home and sit and play video games until I came back. And I did the same thing during summer camp as well. I would wake up. Sometimes they'd throw me on a bus to go have a counselor on a bus to go get the kids and bring them to camp. And then even afterwards, I mean, to be fair, I put in a lot of hours during summer camp. During summer camp, it could be times where I would work from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they said, "Hey, we're kind of low on counselors during the day. Can you help out?" So then I would have a group that I would work with from 9 to 4 o'clock when then I would start after camp care, which I'm supposed to be there every day anyway. So I'd be working from then 4 to like 6:30. So I would have almost a 12-hour day, and I did that about 3 days a week. There was a point in time where they needed me a lot. So
All right. So a little birdie told me you used to work at GameStop. How did you get that job?
actually, I've always wanted to work at GameStop. I've put in applications many, many, many times since I was able to start working at as a job, and I got in luckily because my ex's best friend was a manager on duty there, so she was one of the key holders, and she was one of those that she would close and open the store. So she got my ex the job there, and my ex was like, "Hey, if you need somebody else, I know somebody else." So they got me the job there, and the interview I had was the best interview I've ever had at any job whatsoever.
So you knew, well, since you're a gamer, you knew a lot about gaming. I'm gonna take it. So,
Luckily, it was the question. Some of the questions were like, "What? Okay, so name 3 games coming out this season." I'm like, "This is the interview."
dream interview right there, huh?
Yeah. And the funniest part I think was because I'm pretty sure I was hired no matter what the case was, but the interview was more formal. That it was like I was naming 2 games that came out, and I was like, I can't think of a third, and he was giving me hints on what the third game was.
So, then he wanted you to have the job, apparently. He just wanted
Apparently,
you.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so in the beginning, how did you like working at GameStop, and how did you warm up? Was it an immediate like, hey, I like this. I'm just here to chill out and talk about games and help people out find what they like. Um, or was it, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing here, you know?
Honestly, it was more of the first one. I jumped in and was just like, look at all these games, look at this, look at that. And somebody would come in and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a game." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What kind of game? What games are you into? What did you play last?" And you get a feel for different people and just talk about games behind the counter, and just get to deal with that was just honestly a lot of fun for me right off the bat, even though I worked only 8 hours a week.
That's honestly though, like making money talking about video games is such a dream though. Like how can you pass that up? I would kill to work at GameStop. I would. That would be amazing. So, how okay, so I know a lot of people out there complain about, GameStop buys too low. I bought a $60 game. I should get $30 back, and yada yada yada. Can you explain that to everyone who's watching the podcast? Because I know some people don't understand uh, what you guys do to have to resell the game that they brought in.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue that everybody has with GameStop. Doesn't matter who's there or what's going on, it's always like, "But you're buying my games back for cheap." So the issue with that is if you buy a brand new game for $60, you got to trade it in $25 basically is what you're selling it in for. You're getting less than half of what you paid for, and everybody's like, no, that's wrong. I should be getting more than that. Now the issue with that is GameStop makes a 50% profit on everything pre-owned that they sell. So if they're buying your game for $25, they're paying you 25. They're then selling it for maybe 55. Usually it's about 56, 50, like $60 with tax and everything. So if they sell your game for $60 again, they're making $30. Plus, they then sold you or bought your game off of you, so they're now giving you $25. So technically, they only made $5 off the sale because the other 50% has to go to the producer, I believe it is, or the manufacturer, whatever it is. It has to go back to the gaming company themselves. So in the end, GameStop is barely making money off of each one, but they're making more off of pre-owned, which is why everybody was told to sell pre-owned so much. Because on brand new games, they only made 10% profit. So they wanted your trade, so they gave you even some special sales where a brand new game sometimes you'd get back $30 instead, and they wouldn't make much back, but they would have the stock and could do more sales, and it's all based around pre-owned. So a lot of people don't understand that because they're technically a pawn shop.
Have you ever had a rowdy customer come in and be like, no, I should be getting more for this game? How exactly would you handle that customer?
That one was a hard one. I think it depended on when it would happen. A lot of it was very variable based. When I was first starting off, it was kind of like I wasn't told any of that information. I had no idea. I actually had to learn that when I moved up in the company. So dealing with it at first, it's kind of like, unfortunately, you could maybe, if you learn that, you could say, unfortunately, we make profit off of pre-owned, so we can give you as much as we can, but we have to be able to buy your stuff and resell it, so it makes it hard. Learning that you're a pawn shop definitely at least kind of can help you in that situation more.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't usually tell the customers how we make a profit because I don't want them to learn the inside information since I'm working there. But when I was higher up, it was kind of like, I'm sorry you're not happy about it, but unfortunately, we still have to resell your game and make money from it. So,
Yeah.
it's either you kind of work quick money. GameStop was always, if you needed a quick sell, you sold your games there. If you wanted to wait, you'd sell them online to somebody who actually wanted the game.
So that's how that works. I hope everyone understands that GameStop needs to make a profit off of something. They need to give a portion of it to someone else. And there's also tax on top of that as well, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you sell the game to GameStop, they give you just a flat rate money, but when they sell the game, there's now tax involved in that.
So they need to make even more to cover the taxes and, the fees and all that jazz. Um, so okay, so this is kind of a bit, this is a little bit controversial. We talked about this before. How do you handle a customer coming in with their kid, let's say 7 or 8 years old, and they're buying a rated M game for their child? How exactly did you handle that? And are there any times where the adult completely refused to listen to you about buying this rated M game for their 8-year-old?
Yeah, there's plenty of times. Honestly, I think working at GameStop, the kids hated me more than the parents did. Yeah, there was so many times where literally would sit there and tell the parents like, I don't think this is a good idea. This is what's in it. I honestly would put in. I wouldn't say I would over exaggerate what was in it because I would tell them exactly what was in it, but I would give it so much more detail that would kind of want to draw them away from wanting to buy it. Like it lists, the sexual nudity and the drug use and all that, but I would go into more detail of everything that's in it to maybe draw them away from getting it for their kids because honestly, I don't think it's right that kids these days are playing these rated M games. Now it's up to the parents to decide that. That's fine. But the amount of times I've told parents, like, listen, this is what's in it, they were like, oh no, I don't want that for my child. But then I would also get all those parents who are also sitting there saying, well, what hasn't my son listened to or heard from? Or he knows people. My uncle is way worse, or his uncle is way worse, or, they would come up with every reason in the book to
Mhm.
say, it's fine, they'll deal with it. And I didn't like that either, but I kind of had to just accept it.
Now, are there like any fines? Like, if you sold a game, uh, for an underage person, would you guys like have to pay a fine or something for that?
If I'm remembering correctly, I believe it was actually you could be fired. It was a really big deal because you're selling to a minor. It's sort of like it's almost like selling cigarettes to a minor.
Hmm.
You can technically, if somebody was walking in on you and they were a higher up and they saw you doing that, they would immediately you'd be out because they can be. I think the store can be fined for something like that because, or sued even because the parents can come in and saying, "Why did you sell this to my kid? He's underage. He's not supposed to buy this,"
Hmm.
and then they could have sued the employee for selling it.
Right. So listen up, guys. Please stop buying your underage kids rated M games, especially if they are buying them themselves and you don't know what's in the game. Please ask what's in the game first so you don't get an employee fired. Please, I beg of you. Some people need jobs, okay? All right. Um, so, uh, what do you think was the most popular game at the time you were working?
Grand Theft Auto. To be 100% honest with you, everybody was coming in, kids, parents, everybody was coming in for Grand Theft Auto 5, buying shark cards, and just wanting to, oh, I need this game now. It's on sale, $20. I gotta get it. I have to have it. I have to have it. And I'm like, you don't really, but okay, I guess. And luckily, we had tons and tons of copies for that one. But no matter what game came out, Grand Theft Auto was always the one that everybody came in for.
So, was that like a popular midnight release, or was that just in general? Everyone just wanted to have it.
That one actually, I wasn't even there. I wasn't working at GameStop when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. I would assume it was probably a big release at that point for a midnight. But because it was so popular throughout the years, that it was just constant people. That game stayed at $60 for the longest time because it was such a great game that, and it still is. That everybody had to have it, and I don't really blame them for that either because it's also a fun game.
Yeah, I love I love GTA. It's a fun like open world kind of thing where you can just mess around and do whatever you want. Um,
Exactly.
so were you there for any midnight releases? Did you ever have to work a midnight release?
I did actually. I worked a couple midnight releases. One of my favorite ones was Naruto. I believe it
Ooh.
was Ninja Storm 4 that came out. And I mean, it wasn't a lot of people, but because it was a game that I was excited for, I was so happy to work the midnight release. I was like, I get to get this game. I get to go home. I get to take this. I'm so excited for it. I was so happy. Um, the problem is that I worked at a store that basically when they did the midnight releases, you were basically swamped with people from 12 o'clock to like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I would come home, sleep, and wake up to go to the YMCA and work. So, doing the midnight release is definitely fun, which is why I chose to do GameStop instead. But I think actually not Naruto is my favorite. My favorite was getting to take my PS4 home. It came out with Battlefront that night, and I got the special edition Battlefront PS4 that I got to
Ooh.
take home that night. I was so excited to set up as soon as I got.
So you just literally stayed up all night and just set that up and gamed.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to. I mean, I think I set it up a game for like maybe 20 minutes, and then I went to sleep because I still had work in the morning. But I remember driving home at 2 o'clock in the morning with it in my car, so excited to just go home and just to be able to turn it on.
How did it feel turning it on for the first time?
Oh, I was so excited. I remember sitting on my floor just staring up at my TV, just like, yes, I have it. Adrenaline's pumping. I didn't want to sleep.
I feel
It was too much.
um so now in the present time you work at security. How did you start working security?
I've always had a thing for protecting people. I have two sisters, and I'm around my mom all the time as well. So it's been me basically. I wouldn't say the man of the house, but kind of. And I've always been into protecting people, making sure everybody was safe. I don't want people hurt, especially in my care. Same thing with working with kids and everything. So I got to a point where I did a civil service test, and I was like, you know what, let's go for security. It's a thing that I can at least be passionate about when I go for interviews, which is definitely something that interviewers look for. They want passion. They want to know that you want this because this is what you really want.
Okay. So, first impression, first day on the job, how did you feel about working security?
Nervous.
Nervous.
Just like every other job, I'm always nervous. And I think it was mainly, and I've learned this, I just thought about this the other day actually. Uh, when I have to train with other people, like I actually had to go to one of the sites with one of the guards who was there who had to teach me how to do it. And I was all nervous. I wanted to make sure I did everything right. If I messed up, he was immediately like, no, you're doing it wrong. And I don't like when people are over my shoulder for those things. When I got to do it on my own, I felt a little bit more comfortable immediately. Like it was such a change because now it's like if I mess up, oh well, I messed up. I don't have somebody breathing down my shoulder telling me I messed up. Um, but of course, dealing with some of the residents at the time, if I messed up, I took it so hard because I didn't want to mess up, and I did. So it definitely at first I was nervous. I wanted to make sure I did my job the way I'm supposed to.
So, sorry for a moment of silence. I'm doing the do do do. I'm like trying to. Okay. So, first day on the job, you were nervous, but how did you feel after you warmed up to the idea of working security?
Much more comfortable. GameStop actually helped teach me how to talk to people a lot better. Um, I had to deal with customers on a daily basis, and I had to learn who they were and everything. So working security, uh, dealing with the people that came in, almost kind of came natural. I can have natural conversations with people and learn who they are and learn that they have kids and who's related to who and stories that are going on. So after a while, it definitely became much more relaxed and much more natural.
Have you ever had to really step in as working security? Like, have you ever had to break something up or um, just call the police or something? Anything that sticks out to you, or is everyone there fairly calm?
I wish it were fairly calm. There were times where I've had to call the police, not on people being, stupid. It was more on issues that were happening. We couldn't get a nurse in because the resident wasn't picking up, but the resident was supposed to have a 24-hour nurse. So I called my supervisor. My supervisor's like, "Oh yeah, you got to call the police, and they gotta get access to that, and they got to see what's going on." And of course, though, the one time I called police, they come back by and they said, "How long did you wait before you called us?" And I was like, "About 10 minutes." I called the resident like 6 times. He didn't answer. Nobody answered. There's supposed to be a nurse in there. I'm not sure what happened to the resident. He could have fallen. And the guy was like, 10 minutes isn't long enough. You got to wait longer than that. And I think I had more of an issue with police when I called them than the actual residents.
Well, did he was he okay after that though?
From what I heard from what the officer told me was that the resident was fine. Apparently, he was dealing with his son or something like that was there and was just in the middle of something and couldn't get to the phone. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
god.
okay, well, that's understandable, but unfortunately, how do I know these things? I don't know until somebody tells me. I gotta assume. I can't just assume what's happening, and I can't just assume you know what's going on in that house.
Yeah, like thankfully he was okay. Like, oof, that's
Yeah, it was a nice sigh of relief.
yeah.
I'd rather
um
deal with a cop yelling at me than somebody actually hurt.
yeah. Yeah, I would too, honestly. So, what do you do? Like I know I I'm not going to say what you do for security or anything like that, but what do you do if someone doesn't have their ID on them?
You turn them away as best as you can, and that's a fight in itself. Uh, I can't. Unfortunately, we have to log people in. We need their name, and a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, "Oh, but the resident called me in," or "Oh, I'm on the list," or I'm this kind of person. I'm a doctor. I'm a physician of some sort. I need to be able to get in." And I'm like, I understand, but you have your job to do, and I have my job to do. And unless I can log you in, they're like, "Oh, but you scanned my car. That's enough." No, it's unfortunately the car scan gets the owner of the car, but it doesn't get who's driving the car. And there's a lot of people who don't understand that.
So, I mean, like that's a huge thing. One, why would you be driving without your license? And two, why wouldn't you have your ID on you if you didn't have a driver's license? Like, big no-no. Do not drive without your driver's license. Why?
The
Like,
amount of times it happens is insane. I even had Uber Eats dropping off food for one of the residents. He had to call the resident. The resident had to come out all the way out to the front to go pick up the food and grab it, which is the whole point of dropping it off at the doorstep, so you don't have to touch, go near everybody in this time period. And even as she walked past me, she even shook her head and shrugged her shoulders, like, I don't know why he's driving without a license. And I'm like, unfortunately, they are. I don't know what they're doing.
um, did you ever have any good Samaritans just be like, "Hey, here's some water," or anything like that? Do they notice you? Is what I'm asking. Do they thank you?
Yeah, actually, all the time. And it's a nice feeling knowing that some of the residents are there thanking you, as opposed to the other residents who just sit there and think you are just they pay for security. You have to do what they say because that's not how we roll. A lot of residents come in thinking, okay, well, you're gonna do this for me, and I'm like, that's not my job title. Don't order me around to do things. I guard the gate. I let people in when they should be let in. I turn them away when they shouldn't be in. Um, a lot of residents just don't understand it, but you do get the few that will come by and even just to say, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for being here in this time period. Thank you for protecting my child or my parents or just an all around just even a thank you is more than enough to at least know we're doing a good job. And they bring by food too. I had cookies today. I didn't get to eat
Oh,
any, but
what kind of
but somebody
cookies?
Thin Mints actually,
Mm.
which are my favorite, and I'm so upset I didn't get to eat any.
Oh, Thin Mints are like the number one cookie. Like, I'm sorry. You can keep all your other Girl Scout cookies. Just give me the Thin Mints. That's the only cookie you need to sell. You make a lot of money, Girl Scouts. Just give me the Thin Mints.
Maybe Samoas too, but Thin Mints
Oh
definitely.
my gosh, Samoas are so good. Okay, I was wrong. All right, Samoas
Need them
are
both.
yeah. Just like so, I did a gross thing after we got Girl Scout cookies this year. So I please don't like at me and come for me on Twitter and Discord. Um, I did I did a really I was really hungry for Girl Scout cookies and I didn't have time to dip them in my milk, so I just like crushed them up, put them in milk, and put in a spoon. And I'm like eating them real fast. I'm like, okay, I've got to get to this place in like, or I've got to be ready in 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna crumble up my cookies, put them in milk, and just eat them with a spoon. Just shove them in my mouth. So that was a gross thing I did with Girl Scout cookies that I am oversharing right now.
To be fair, that sounds like a good idea.
Even better with
It's almost
chocolate milk.
it's just the thought of it is just kind of like break it up into chunks. It's like having cereal milk. After you
Cereal
have
milk.
cereal
Oh.
and you have like even Cocoa Puffs or something, after you eat the Cocoa Puffs, you drink the milk. It's a whole different
Mm.
flavor. So having that and crushing it up, even you could just drink it like that, just crush up into smaller pieces, and just drink the milk like that.
Or even better, you can make a milkshake out of it.
Ooh. Good idea.
Vanilla or chocolate ice cream. Just throw your Thin Mints in there and just grind it up in the blender. Add a little bit of milk or sweet cream or something, and go to town on it. Okay,
And instead
Quaze.
of putting a cherry, put a Thin Mint on the top.
Oh my God, you're actually making me really hungry because I have ice cream in the freezer right now. Um, and I got a new chocolate milk cup while I was on vacation, so it's making me even more excited to have have chocolate milk or a milkshake. Um, and yes, I do have a specific chocolate milk and milkshake cup that I use, and it wasn't big enough, so I got a 24-ounce one.
I don't blame you. I used to have a cow mixer. It's
Oh,
literally like a cow, and you hit the button, and it's spun and mixed up the chocolate milk.
oh my God, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. All right. Um, so gaming. So let's go a little bit before Twitch and everything else that we just went over. When did you start gaming? What caught your eye when you first started gaming? Did you have a PC? Did you have a console?
Gaming actually started for me back in 1998. Good old
Ooh.
days. Back when Pokemon Yellow was brand new. Me and my older sister got Pokemon Yellow with a special limited edition Game Boy Color,
Ooh.
and since then, all I could do is game. Like that's my entertainment, and I didn't even have. I mean, I had a PC in my house for a while. We did do some PC gaming, like very little stuff. Like there was one game you'd take care of a dog kind of thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
there was one program my dad got that it takes your desktop background and puts it as basically like a picture, and you could take a hammer and start smashing it up and everything. It was like, cool, stupid fun, but I never actually really got into like console or PC gaming for probably a few years after that.
So you started out on handheld, basically. Um, do you remember the color of the Game Boy Color that you had?
I can see it like I still have it in my hands right now, and I wish I did. It was a nice yellow on the front, blue on the back, and it had Togepi, I believe it was Jigglypuff, and Pikachu on the front cover,
Oh.
and by the screen. And when you turn on, actually, where there's the power light, the light itself was a Pokeball with a red light in the middle of it when it was on. Oh, it
What?
was the
Oh
best
my
thing ever.
God.
It was
That's
the best
like
thing ever.
that's worth some money right now, dude. That is worth money. I'm so sad that you most likely don't have it anymore. But did you have the classic see-through cover that they had, or did you have the solid yellow?
I had solid yellow. Uh, I've always thought those were cool. Um, I do believe my little sister might have had the see-through purple one, but I
Ooh,
think she had a green one if I'm not mistaken. I think hers was like a solid green. So I don't think we really had the see-through one at any point in our lives.
that one looked really tasty. Like, do you remember those see-through? Oh my God, this is going way back. I'm only 25. Let's just say this, but do you remember those phones, those see-through phones that they had? Those acrylic see-through phones where you could just see everything inside of the phone. Do you remember those? Cause holy crap, I remember
You
those.
talking about like a Nokia looking phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
God, those are like back in the recesses of the back of my mind. I
Yeah,
completely forgot about those.
I mean, we can completely leave like 90s fashion behind, but all I'm gonna remember is those see through acrylic electronics that they used to have. Um, I used to have one of those. Well, it wasn't working. We got it at a yard sale. I used to have one of those burger phones that they had. Like it would flip open. Like it would be a burger and it would flip open. And I spent my childhood pretending to call people on my burger phone. If
I
that's
I can
not
see
weird.
that.
So you started on handheld. What were some other games besides Pokemon that you played on handheld, or is there no memory of anything other than Pokemon, which I completely understand, by the way?
No, actually, I do remember a couple of games that I played. My little sister had a Donkey Kong Country game.
Oh my god.
I used to play Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. Um, and then when she got her own Game Boy Color, she got The game, I think it was Donkey Kong Country that came out at the time, so I got to play that a lot. I also had a Ninja Turtle game, Follow the Foot Clan, that I used to play all the time. I couldn't get over that game. I would just sit in my bed and just start playing that game because I would have beaten Pokemon by that point, so I didn't really play Pokemon again after that. I also had a Shrek game, which was the most
Shrek.
annoying game I've ever played. It literally was Shrek, and you would sit and it was like a fighting game. So you would choose your character, and you would go through the levels and fight the enemies. And I always got up to, I think it was the gingerbread man that I would always get up to fight, and he would just kill me every single time. I could not beat him for the life of me. Until I think I beat him once, and they give you codes in between levels to go back to that spot. So as soon as I beat him, I wrote down the code real quick so that we could just skip him every time.
So you use quote unquote cheats.
Yeah, those are the days that they gave you cheats. Basically, it's like legal cheats.
Legal cheats
They were in the game somewhere. You just had
like
to
Game
find them.
Sharks and stuff. Like, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
god. I remember Game Sharks. Holy crap.
I used to use Game Sharks all the time. Put it in when I had the Game Boy Advance SP. You put the Game Shark in the SP, and then you put the game on the back of it, facing the other
Mhm.
way, and you would just cheat all day.
Yeah, I actually um like correct me if I'm wrong, but I used to use Game Shark on Pokemon. Like I think I only used Game Shark on Pokemon like a couple of times before mine just decided to take a shit, but did they
I
have
mean,
Game Shark for Pokemon? Because I feel like I remember using that for Pokemon for some reason.
it sounds familiar, and I wouldn't see why they wouldn't, because you can get yourself like 99 Master Balls or potions or something. So I don't see why they wouldn't have those a Game Shark for that.
Hmm.
Um, Especially because now they definitely do, but they had to have at that point.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember those huge ass guides you used to get too? Like I still have my guide from Fire Red and Green for Pokemon. I still have it. It's here somewhere. It's probably just packed away, but those thick ass guides that you used to get were phenomenal. I love
I
them so
have
much.
every single guide behind me right now for Pokemon.
Oh my god. What's the
I
most
literally
recent
I
one
went
you
through it the other
have?
day. Huh?
What's the most recent one you have?
I think my older sister has the Sword and Shield Pokedex. I think either she has it, or I think I spoke to what my old manager at GameStop, because I know sometimes, I think on Wednesdays is usually when they do new sales and stuff, and sale prices and price changes, and on Wednesdays sometimes the game guides and stuff like that would actually go to get pennied out. So basically, they became 1 penny, and they were just going to be thrown away. So I told him, hey, if you still happen to have it and it gets pennied out, give me a call. I'm going to come down and pick it up because I don't really want to pay. And it was the collector's edition guidebook. So I was like, I don't really want to pay $40 to get this guidebook, but I really want the guidebook. So let me know.
So he just rang you up and said, "Hey, we still have it. Come get it."
I'm still waiting for them to call me. I that's the only one that I think my older sister has one, or she has the Pokedex for it. But other than that, I have every other one. I think the only one I may be missing is Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, or Sun and Moon in general. But I think those are the only ones that I'm missing right now.
I tried to find a guide for Sun and Moon. And they were extremely expensive, and if they had them at a decent price, they were very hard to find. Like you could look online, it would be on in stock online. You would go into the store and they wouldn't have it. Like it would be sold very fast. That's the only guide that I wanted, really. And yeah, that's a hard one to find. You might be able to find them on eBay, but they're probably really expensive.
Yeah, that's the problem with guidebooks is I've always wanted guidebooks, and nowadays it's, oh, well, everything's on in the internet. You could just go and find a website and get the game guide that way. And I'm like, no, yeah, I could do that, and I do it anyway. But like that defeats the purpose. I love being able to look inside the guidebook, almost like it's my childhood again.
Hmm.
Just look inside the guidebook and find things and learn how to play that way, and not get spoilers. Basically, I could just follow each page as it goes.
Right. That's the best thing about guidebooks. So, What other consoles and handhelds have you played before that you remember so fondly from childhood or present time?
The biggest one would be the Game Boy Advance.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's the Advance or SP, I played that one so much. I had all the best memories of games, and all my favorite games were on there. And just that was a good time period of my life was having that Game Boy Advance. I mean, I can't say 100% positive, but no, that was definitely I definitely loved the games in that.
Yeah, I remember the hype when the Game Boy Advance SP came out. Like people were just like hyping it up, and I don't know if it's a rare color or not anymore, but I had the not emerald blue, dear God. I had the blue one, and apparently that one was a very hard one to find.
The Cobalt Blue.
Yes, the cobalt blue. Yes, that's the one.
I don't know if it was rare. I think red and blue were the biggest ones that came out because I had a blue and my sister had a red. Um, I knew actually my friend right now has a blue one because it was my ex's, and she had a blue one, so we just took that one and fixed it up to make it work again. So he's now got a blue as well. Um, which was upsetting because my friend lost my old blue one, which was definitely
Oh,
upsetting.
oh no. Like
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe it was just around Christmas time because my mom had to put it on not layover. Yeah? Is that what they used to call that?
layaway.
Yeah, layaway, not layover. Oh my god, that's for planes. What am I talking about? Yeah, my mom had to put it on layaway. And it was one of the last blue ones left, like the last one of the last cobalt blue ones left, and I'm glad I got it, but I think I still have it. I think I still have it. It might be packed away somewhere. Um, so what consoles did you get into?
Honestly, mostly Nintendo. For my entire life was always the Game Boy Color, the Super Nintendo, um, the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U. It was a lot of Nintendo consoles because I also
Mhm.
live with two sisters. So whenever it came to, hey, do you guys want a GameCube or do you want an Xbox? It was like, oh, I want an Xbox. I want to play Spider-Man. I want to play Halo, and I want to play all these shooting games and racing games. And my sisters are like, no, I want all the fun cartoony Nintendo games. Let's go with GameCube. So of course I got outvoted. So I was Nintendo for the longest time.
So are you still a big fan of Nintendo?
I would say so. As soon as I heard about the Switch, I was like, I have to get it. It's great. I also recently bought myself a Nintendo 64, which I've never owned before in my life. Um, so I made sure to get that as well. Like I still have my GameCube. Actually, I don't have my GameCube. I had to rebuy a GameCube, but I have a GameCube sitting next to me right now my favorite system at this point, really, besides the Game Boy Advance. The GameCube is definitely right next to it in favorite systems.
All right, so PC. When did you start getting hardcore into PC gaming?
Hardcore was about a year ago.
About a
Uh,
year.
about a year ago, I got my first gaming PC. I had tried to game on an old computer that I had. Uh, unfortunately was not the best of computers. And it was downstairs. It was the family computer, so it was hard to get time to be able to play it, especially because bedtimes and everything like that. Whenever I'd want to play, I didn't actually have enough time to play. I actually used that computer to play the beta test for Elder Scrolls Online, which was great. It was wonderful. Uh,
So
but
you've been
I
there for a very long time, huh?
yeah, it's been definitely a long ride with Elder Scrolls and PC gaming in general, but I didn't actually start diving into what it's really like, I think, until last year when I actually got a gaming PC. I've had a laptop, uh, and I used to game a little bit on the laptop, but it did not compare to what I can do on a desktop.
Yeah, I mean, desktops are OP. Like, you can keep upgrading them and upgrading the hell out of them. And you can't really break them unless you decide to hardcore overclock. But yeah, PCs are great. PCs can run. I mean, if you're game, like PCs can run anything if you have the right gear, you know. That's what I like about them. They can handle a lot of stuff you throw at them.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so we are definitely coming up on time, so there will be a part two. Uh, so yeah, it was great talking to you, Quays. I really appreciated having you here.
Great to be here, even for the part one.
Yeah, for the part one. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap up here. You can follow me on Twitter at Modified Wolf. On Patreon is Modified Wolfie. Twitch is Modified Wolf. And am I forgetting anything else? Like I don't plan outros anymore. Clays, help me. Uh, um, Twitch and Twitter is Modified Wolf. Patreon is Modified Wolfie. You can catch me on Stream Gifts, Modified Wolf. Wow. So is there anything you want to plug, Quays?
uh, you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter as well. I that's where I usually like to post things is on Twitter.
So you also have a website where you can create, where you have a portfolio of bots you've created. And yeah, would you like to give your Discord website bot a shout out?
I mean, sure, why not? It's QuazCustomBots.com. QUAZ custombots.com. Yeah, there's a little portfolio, there's a little bit about me there, and kind of give you a hint on what I've done so far.
Alrighty. Thank you so much. And we're gonna have a part two. Don't you worry, guys. We're not finished. We're not finished. In case you really like Quays, because you know he's a very lovable dude. All right,
Yeah.
guys. I'll see you later. Take care.